season.
But you know that the books have just been published.
Yeah.
Are we? There's people outside the club who are kind of really, really worried, and that the club's in a far worse financial situation than actually we're being led to believe. How true is that?
No, it's not true. I think there's been a bit of scaremongering put out. Who's putting it out? We're not sure. First of all, it's Manchester United. Mm-hmm. So if it's Manchester United, you're talking with a megaphone because of the elite nature of the club. It's still generating plenty of cash. If you take a look at the thing that we tend to look at when we're doing our analysis is how much are they paying out in wages compared to how much is coming in at Manchester United. For every £100 that the club brings in, they're spending 53 on wages. UEFA says if you're below 70, you're fine. So Manchester United got the third lowest in the Premier League. So the problem isn't the wages. It's all of this talk is there to justify or trying to justify sacking the staff. But it's not Dave and Sharon in the ticket office that's the problem at Manchester United.
We'll get back to Rio in just a quick second, but remember, if you like this video, please like, share and subscribe. Don't forget to click the notification button so that you know when the next Big D video hits. And also, as always, if something is bubbling up inside of you that you need to express, the comment section is for you. Please type away in that comment section. The Big D reads all of the comments. Well, I mean, there's always something going on at Manchester United, whether it's some kind of player revolt or if it's some kind of player going to the USA or swanning off to wherever, or someone is spending a little bit too much time with some grannies, or if someone's kicking a fan in the stadium. There is always something going on at Manchester United. They are the biggest club in the world. And even still, even though we've been rubbish, we still get most of the media attention. And that is what I call the dreaded media microscope. Anyway, in this clip, Rio is going to be talking to a football financial expert about INEOS, the Glazers, and the real problems at Manchester United. And it's a really interesting watch. And the problem is very, very simple. But stick around to after the clip because the Big D is going to be giving his thoughts on everything that is said in this clip. And my thoughts also on the situation regarding Manchester United. Anyway, here they are.
Well, if you look at the contracts at Manchester United, I don't see individual
I didn't say
contracts.
Manchester United, by the way. But go on. Go on.
You're saying, Joel.
Go on. Sorry, Kieran.
So if you budget at a particular club, what we tend to see in the world of the elite clubs, if you don't qualify for the Champions League, then the following season you have to take a pay cut. Or you say that there's a big bonus for getting into the Champions League. And Manchester United's accounts, for example, they came out last week. The wage bill has gone down because this season, they're in the Europa League compared to last season when they're in the Champions League.
Oh, man. And then next year, if they don't get Champions League football again, does it reduce further? It
won't, but what will happen next season is they're not in the Champions League. They've signed this absolutely amazing deal with Adidas. It's £90 million a year. Adidas effectively fined them £10 million for not getting into the Champions League. So what United should be doing is focusing on winning the Europa League because that will give them an automatic slot next season.
But you know that the books have just been published.
Yeah.
Are we? There's people outside the club who are kind of really, really worried, and that the club's in a far worse financial situation than actually we're being led to believe. How true is that?
No, it's not true. I think there's been a bit of scaremongering put out. Who's putting it out? We're not sure. First of all, it's Manchester United. So if it's Manchester United, you're talking with a megaphone because of the elite nature of the club. It's still generating plenty of cash. If you take a look at the thing that we tend to look at when we're doing our analysis is how much are they paying out in wages compared to how much is coming in at Manchester United. For every £100 that the club brings in, they're spending 53 on wages. UEFA says if you're below 70, you're fine. So Manchester United got the third lowest in the Premier League. So the problem isn't the wages. It's all of this talk is there to justify or trying to justify sacking the staff. But it's not Dave and Sharon in the ticket office that's the problem at Manchester United. It's player recruitment. And we mentioned earlier, Chelsea, very successful at selling players. So they're £600 million behind Chelsea. They're £200 to £300 million behind all of those other clubs that I've just mentioned. That's been the problem.
Just to go back to what you just said there about John and Sandra, whoever it was, in a ticket office, obviously that culling of a lot of jobs, 200 plus jobs recently that have gone, we're led to believe as the fans that that's going to have a big impact on the P&L sheet. You're saying that is nothing to do with it.
No, because...
So why are they then doing that?
Because that's how INEOS, who are the new owners, they're used to running chemical factories and industrial businesses, where what you're always trying to do is you're trying to cut costs because you want to be able to sell your product cheaper than your competitors. Well, Manchester United does not have to sell its product. Manchester United's an elite football club, so it can charge top dollar price. I think that's just that they're so used to that is their way of running the business, but they're not selling chemicals. Manchester United's for all of the faults. I could spend 3 hours listing the faults of the Glazer family.
Oh, that's where I wanted to talk. I wanted to go on to that. The Glazers family. Go on, let you finish before we go on to it.
But creating jobs in Manchester, that you can't put that on their ticket, can you? The job numbers have gone up, but if INEOS had just let natural wastage take place, a lot of those jobs would have gone over the course of 1 to 2 years. So I think they're in a bit of a problem PSR wise because they recruited Dan Ashworth. They had to pay Newcastle, we don't know, probably 3-4 million compensation. They then sacked Dan Ashworth. The press are saying it cost him £4 million to sack him. They got the change of manager. That was another 21 million. Yeah, that's 30 million quid.
Wow, in a heartbeat.
And
have INEOS been naive?
Well,
in different aspects, in terms of recruiting maybe the wrong people like Dan Ashworth, but also the job culling, etc., and what impact that's had on the club and them, especially from a PR perspective.
When they came in, there was all of this goodwill. It was being marketed as local lad Jim Ratcliffe has come in to save the club, which he used to watch as a kid.
Knight in shining armour, wasn't it?
There was all of that, and the United fan base was united, and it's not been united for some time because there's been no love lost towards the previous owners, and all of that's now disappeared because I lived in Manchester for 40 years myself. My kids were born in Manchester, and you hear things on the streets, that everybody's miserable, everybody's looking over their shoulders, and yes, the job of the players is to be professional and to try to deliver on the pitch, but if you're conscious that there's nobody with a smile on their face when you go into work, that has an impact. And it's all
the morale of the place. Any business, you need good morale. Whether a small business or a massive business, the morale it drives culture and it drives goodwill for a period of time as well. But just on INEOS, how complicated is it for INEOS to come in and analyse the finances and to learn about the business, being that they're not from a real football background and they're, like you say, chemicals and industrial businesses are their thing?
Well, they've got a lot of experience in sport. They've got a club in France.
Nice.
They've got Nice. They've worked in cycling. They've worked in the sailing, and they've got this sponsorship arrangement with New Zealand Rugby. So they should know that what drives success in sport, and as you're absolutely right, it comes down to the culture and it comes down to morale and goodwill. And people don't mind putting in an extra shift. People don't mind answering that extra email out of
that's what
office
I worry
hours.
About with that culling.
If all you're concerned about is making sure you don't upset people.
Because when I played there, staff at Man United, every member of staff used to go above and beyond. Whether it's the groundsman, the dinner ladies, Kath at the desk, God rest her soul, and the coaching staff, players, everyone's going above. But because it was like, we are a unit, we are together, and we win and lose together. But when I look at that, and you go, right, they're dropping the price. Even that, the PR for the ticket prices. Surely you go, right, let's just put that fat on the corporate seats and leave Joe and Sandra in the Stretford end at their normal price. From a PR perspective, surely it's not a brainer.
It's an easy win. Liverpool last week said, we're freezing ticket prices in the COP. We've got tickets available for kids from Liverpool for £9 because we want to be part of Liverpool. We want to be part of the identity. And I think they've actually played a blinder here because they've looked at all this bad news coming out from Old Trafford.
Breaks my heart.
We don't have to do that much to make ourselves look really good. And
that's clever.
On the winner.
Let's go to the Glazers. Sorry, Joel. Let's go to the Glazers because I think if you're looking at it from a fan's perspective, there's so much to get into here because they've been the kind of target for most of the Man United fans, if not all, for many years now. How much of the current financial woes and worries are actually down to the Glazers' loan and management of the debt, which I think is the real big kind of, it's not the what's the word again? It's not the elephant in the room, but it's the main talking point.
I think in the early years of the takeover, if you go back to 2005, the Glazers effectively, they couldn't afford to buy Manchester United, so they got Manchester United to borrow the money to allow them. And that debt's been stuck on the books of the club since then.
Just before you say, it's an unbelievable deal if you can get it, isn't it? If you can get it, it's the deal of the century.
Yeah, it is.
I'm going to buy a football club, the best football club in the world, with the bank's money, and make the club pay off that debt.
How much was it? 300 mil? How much was it?
700.
700 mil.
But
sorry, go on.
But since then, no. Since then, Dave, it's cost them practically $1 billion in interest.
It costs who?
Well, sorry, Manchester United. So that's $1 billion.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, that could have gone onto the playing budget. That could have bought you a new Old Trafford.
So they've got that interest to pay, which they put onto the club's bill now, not their own. They lent the money, but made the club pay for their lending. Well, in effect.
Yeah.
And they take now a management fee also to run the football club, which is what?
Well, we don't know quite. They were taking 16 million a year out in dividends.
So if they'd have paid that 16 million pounds and said, "Listen, we're not going to take that management fee," what would that equate to over the course of their tenure?
Well, they started that in 2016, so they've taken out about 120, 130 in total.
So that could have went towards paying off the debts.
And that was between 2016 and 2021. And no disrespect, Manchester United weren't exactly at the races during that period of time. They're getting through managers, and they got all the compensation for sacking managers and so on. If the club's being successful, the fans don't care about the finances.
Yeah, in our time, people were arming and ahhing, but it wasn't like it is now.
No,
because they're not winning. Success clouds and hides a lot of stuff, doesn't it?
Yeah. And now the Glazers have come in for stick because, as an away fan, going to Old Trafford used to be the Mecca, if argued, but it's a 20th century stadium in the 21st century, and you go to Spurs and you go, wow, this is it. I'm 6 foot. I can't sit at Old Trafford because the seats are too small and crazy things like that. Yeah, they've spent money on the corporates. Yeah, they've spent money on the hospitality seats, but for the regulars, and I played for Trafford Cricket Club for donkey's years. And we were half red, half blue. But the United fans there, they say, well, since the Glazers have arrived, we'll arrive at 10 to 3. We're straight out. We're not giving them a penny in merchandise money. We're not going to give them any money for catering. Wow. That's how Manchester United fans felt about the Glazers. Wow. And that's caused further issues. Spurs make 800 grand a match from catering alone. Wow. Because they're really smart at what they do.
Good beer there, isn't it? Good beer.
So what's more damaging, though? Poor recruitment or the Glazers?
Oh, good question, Joel.
Ultimately, the Glazers appointed the people that did the recruitment.
Yes.
So you've got to...
Yes, Kieran.
You've got to go up that chain of command.
No, that's ridiculous, man.
The recruitment's been horrendous.
Yeah.
Horrendous. Yeah. Also, part of the recruitment is getting people in to actually improve the players that you're recruiting as well. And that's where it's been even worse. It's all right bringing in players that might not be good enough or players that we think are going to be good enough, but none of them get better. And I always keep saying this, Bruno's the only one, and Cristiano Ronaldo, who perform anywhere near to what we anticipated them when they came. Maybe Zlatan as well.
Well, I mean, the Big D is a firm believer that life can be very, very simple. But it's up to you to make life simple for yourself. And some of the key things that you need to bear in mind, if you're going to do that, is you need to pay attention and put the effort in. And be consistent. That's it. That's all you need to do. Doesn't matter what you're doing. Pay attention, put the effort in, and be consistent. Just do that. And eventually, those good decisions that you make based on you paying attention will compound enough that your life will increase and dramatically improve over a period of time, and things will be rosy for you eventually. But that's not what's been happening at Manchester United, because the one person that was paying attention, putting the effort in, and being consistent was Alex Ferguson, and he left in 2013. And no one has been in that club since then who had autonomous control over that club. And because of that, Manchester United have been making one bad decision after another, after another, after another, to the point now where we are just above the relegation zone. And it kind of is the Glazers' fault. Because the Glazers have just thrown money at the problem, and they've hired the wrong people, as is suggested in this clip, to make the most important decisions any football club can make, and that is the appointment of managers and also the signings of players. And to think of some of the players that we've missed out on over this past 10 years or so. We could have got Ruben Diaz, no problem. We could have got Sergio Aguero, no problem. We could have got Erling Haaland, no problem. Maybe if we put a little bit more effort in with Jude Bellingham, we could have got him. Could have got Declan Rice. So many players that we could have got. Luis Diaz, he's doing well at Liverpool. Better than what we've got. And that's all a football club needs to do. It just needs to concentrate on what's happening in the first team pitch. If they get that right, everything else flows downstream. Everything else is rosy. Everything else is ignored. And also as well, like, if everything's happening well on the pitch, more money comes into the club, and then you can use that money to either buy more players or build a new stadium or improve Carrington or not sack the catering staff or any of those guys in the admin department and whatnot. So yeah, he's hit the nail right on the head there. I mean, I don't think the Glazers have been as bad as what people make out. I think it's just a case of them just not paying attention, and they've just thrown money at the problem. Because United have spent a lot of money, so you've got to give them credit there. It's just that money hasn't been spent correctly. And plus everything is made worse because it's Manchester United, and it's the usual dreaded Manchester United microscope and all of that. I mean, a prime example of that, 3 weeks ago, Anthony was the worst footballer Manchester United has ever signed. He's had 3 games at Real Betis in La Liga, and he's got 3 man of the matches and 6 goal involvements. So, I mean, what's that all about, But going back to sort of all these redundancies and people, getting let go and whatnot. I mean, it is a little bit weird because I don't believe for a second Man United are struggling PSR-wise, and I've said this before, because the club generates so much money. I mean, they said there that, they get paid by Adidas 90 million per year. And then if they don't qualify for the Champions League, they get fined 10 mil. Oh, okay. So they only get 80 million. Oh, wow. Okay, fair enough. So I think this is just a case of, he wants to streamline things more than anything. But also, those guys are very shrewd businessmen, like Sir Jim and all those guys. And they are going to know and understand that there is such a thing called the Manchester United tax. So any players that Manchester United sign or try to sign, immediately there's an extra 20% added on top of the price that Manchester United are paying. Historically speaking, that is. And I think they are trying to put the narrative out there to try and inhibit that inclination by the selling club for future transfer windows, because that'll save them. Assuming that they sign 3 players for 50 million each, there's 150 million. 20%, if they save 20% of, say, 115 million, 150 million that is, that's 30 million per season that they are saving. So, I mean, that's a lot of money. So I can understand it from that perspective. And, you know, fair enough, if they want to streamline the club, it is what it is. I mean, what's the point of having people at the club who don't really bring a lot to the club? You know, what value are these people bringing to Manchester United if they are allowed to be culled? You know, what, have they got one too many secretaries or something? I don't know. I mean, that's a genuine question. What value have they been bringing to Manchester United? That is a genuine question. I don't know. Because I find it hard to believe that they're going to make people who are vital to the running of that club redundant, and that maybe some of these jobs are unnecessary jobs. So I understand it from a professional point. From a personal point, I mean, it's heartbreaking, really, isn't it? Because there's going to be a lot of people there getting made redundant who have worked there for years. And, you know, as Rio says, they poured the heart and soul into the club, and hopefully they're getting a big redundancy payout. So we'll see what's happening on that front. But yeah, INEOS, they haven't exactly covered themselves in glory since they took over. I mean, there's been pluses and there have been minuses. I have liked the signings. I think they've made the right signings, and the signings are doing well. It'll be interesting to see what striker they bring in, because the striker is what Manchester United desperately need right now. So that'll be interesting to see. Will it be Osimhen? Will it be Vlahovic? Will it be someone else that we've never heard of? So that's all right. But yeah, they've made a cock-up with Eric Ten Hag, and they made a cock-up with Dan Ashworth, which is really strange. But hey ho. But what do you guys think of the current situation at Manchester United? Is it a case of INEOS are just kind of trying to clean up the Glazers' mess? Have they made a lot of bad decisions? Have they covered themselves in glory? Or do you think what they are doing is necessary evils, so to speak, and to allow Manchester United to streamline and to kick on and move forward in a productive and positive manner? As always, thoughts in the comments, and the big deal. See you in the next one.